Annulling Our Promise. Chapter 35. December 23rd, 2017. Eric woke up to Kenya holding him from behind. He got up and padded into the bathroom. After he used it, Eric looked at his cell phone to see the time. It was 5 a.m. Even so, he felt it was later than that, since his body was still running on New York time. He got back in the bed, but couldn't go back to sleep. Eric laid there for almost an hour before he grabbed his cell phone and went to the living room to watch TV. He stopped at the guest room on his way to the living room and put on his Burberry pajama pants. He turned the TV on with the remote by pressing the Netflix button. Eric reclined on the couch and used her profile to find something to watch. She watched a lot of documentaries on food and health. Seeing this, her eating habits suddenly made a lot more sense. He flipped through her, continue watching for Kenya. He stopped on Greenleaf because he noticed Oprah and Lynn Whitfield. He went to the first season, episode 1, to see what she was watching. Before he knew it, he'd watched 2 episodes and started a third. Eric picked up his cell phone to see the time, 8:11. He pressed pause on the remote, then walked into the kitchen. Eric opened the cabinets to see if she had some syrup and pancake mix. She had syrup, but no mix to be seen. He checked in her cubby, still no luck, but he found a griddle. He placed the syrup on the island and the griddle on the counter by the sink. Eric opened the refrigerator and piled eggs, milk, green pepper, onions, cheese, and hash browns into his arms. He placed the items on the island as he thought, if she only had some bread, I could make some French toast. He searched for the bread and found a bread box inside the cubby. He opened it to find a cinnamon swirl loaf. Bingo. He also grabbed her spice rack and placed it on the island. After Eric got all the bowls and utensils, he started whipping up his magic. His favorite meal of the day was breakfast. He could eat it all day, every day. Bing. He picked up his phone to see a text from Michelle. Michelle, I guess you're still in the air because you never texted me to let me know you made it. Call me when you get a second. Eric dialed her number, placed it on speakerphone, then used his phone case's kickstand to prop the phone up while he was cooking. Ring, ring. Hello? My bad for not texting you. I've been running ever since I touched down. What's good? Or should I say, what's bad? You never hit me this early in the morning. You already know. I need to vent. I was going to call D, but I didn't want to offend his wife. Damn. Can you talk, Mr. Cupcake Jones? Yeah, I'm good. Kenya's sleeping, and I'm making breakfast. What's up? My son, damn idiot. I had to leave that day party early to bail him out of jail. What? For what? I know, Mr. Goody Two-Shoes. Yeah, I had to bail him out on some domestic violence shit. You know I don't play any man hitting a woman, even my son. I was going to leave him in there, but my sister reminded me that if I didn't get him, he would be there until Monday. His stupid ass, going to get locked up on his day off on some Friday the movie stuff. You silly. I'm serious. Who does that? Anyway, he said that he didn't hit her, but it's his word against hers. He's in his old room looking crazy. He got into it with his wife over some Facebook picture that she was tagged in. She's in a picture with her ex at a party that she went to by herself. As she told Eric the rest of the story, he missed seeing Kenya standing near the doorway, listening to the sound of Michelle's voice. I'm going to do what you said and get them a marriage counselor. That's enough of my silly child. How's everything going out there in California? Everything is great. I can't complain. It's beautiful out here. I could get used to this warm weather. You know I'm not talking about Cali. I'm talking about you and old girl. We good. We went out last night and had a ball. Our chemistry is amazing, almost as if we were made for each other. Eric snickered, then continued. I don't know if it was the drinks or just living in the moment, but I almost told her I love her. Hold up. Not Mr. Don't fall in love with me. I can't believe this. She must be special. Just tell me. Was it during or after sex? Neither. It was when we were at Starbucks trying to sober me up. That's a whole other conversation. So what stopped you? I don't know. I just punked out. I thought about it the rest of the night, but couldn't get up enough nerve to tell her. You know it's been damn near an eternity since I felt this way. Plus, it is kind of soon. We just started kicking it last month. You don't think it's too early to be saying that? Yes, for most people, but not for you. It's a reason you haven't said it in a while, because you weren't there. Now that you're there, you need to move before it's too late. I don't know how your clock is ticking, but mine's moving like a Rolex. No pause. Just steady moving. You crazy. Eric smiled as he flipped the French toast over. I'm for real. I don't know how many years this thing is going to get wet. Whoa, that's too much information. Calm down, but for real. You always tell me to take the shot, and now it's your turn. I don't know this woman, but I got to meet her. She got your nose wide open. Too open. I can dig in my nose with a boxing glove on. Damn, I like to see that. Me too. I'm going to get at you later. I finished cooking. I gotta wake her so we can eat. Do that. Bye. Michelle ended the call. Eric turned off the griddle, wiped it off, and placed the utensils in the sink. He walked to get Kenya and found her coming towards him in the living room. What's that I smell? Kenya asked as she walked up. Breakfast. I know my way around a kitchen a little. They kissed. Then she walked past him and went into the kitchen. Kenya grabbed some glasses out of the cabinet and placed them on the island. Eric opened the refrigerator, pulled out orange and pomegranate juice. He fixed their plate, and Kenya did the drinks. Eric had 2 plates, one with his omelet and hash brown, and one with his French toast. Kenya had 1 plate, which had her omelet and hash browns on it. She prayed before she dug in. You only made French toast for you? I didn't think you liked pancakes or French toast. When we were in Atlantic City, you never would get any. You right? I did that only because I bought a few dresses that were pushing my size. I love French toast over pancakes. Me too. Eric got up and got her another plate to share with her. What about all that healthy stuff in your fridge? I try to eat healthy for the most part, but I still have the things I love. I eat healthy 80% of the time, and my 20% might be really bad, but it works for me. I dig that. The crew is always asking me what I'm eating right now, 'cause I always switch it up. Exactly. Shock your body, she said as she took a sip from her glass. They finished eating in silence, and she put the plates in the sink. She told him to relax, that she would get the dishes in a minute. Eric sat on the couch. He pressed the pause button again to start the episode. Kenya came and laid on the couch with her head in his lap. Thanks, baby, for the breakfast. No problem. That's what I do. But next time I will make more French toast. You killed mines. Yes, I did. They were great. Don't start nothing you can't finish. Whatever. I should be saying the same to you. The way you gave me that facial in the kitchen yesterday? If you hadn't stopped, you neighbors were going to have to call the cops because I was about to scream. Stop, Kenya said as she covered her face. Don't be acting shy now. The damage is done and I'm going to be here for a while. I know. If my friends or my ex-husband knew what I was doing with you, Lord, my friends would give me a standing ovation, and he would beat me down. She caught his expression and quickly added, Don't get me wrong, he never hit me, but he asked for things sexually that I didn't feel comfortable doing with him. I don't know if it was how he treated me or what, but with you, I feel so free, safe, wanted, and loved. And I love you too. Eric was stunned. Huh? Where'd that come from? I told you to be honest with me when I left New York. Plus, I overheard you talking to your friend over the phone. On that note, I love you too. Eric took a moment, looking down at her as she looked up at him, smiling. I love you. Kenya Crawford, he said with dramatic pauses. I know, and I always knew. Eric huffed, grabbed a pillow from behind him, and placed it on her face. From that day forward, they told each other they loved each other multiple times a day. They stayed in the house for the rest of the day. She talked about going to a vineyard, but that never happened. They took showers and laid on her couch instead, eating ice cream and watching Greenleaf. They didn't even make love. They just spent some much-needed quality bonding time. Annulling Our Promise. Chapter 36. December 31st, 2017. The last 9 days had been awesome. On Christmas Eve, they spent the day shopping for gifts for the homeless. Kenya talked Eric into serving Christmas dinner at the shelter. He always wanted to do something like that, but he would usually donate money, not his time. He watched her glowing as she greeted and hugged the people coming in the cafeteria. Eric had never seen that side of her growing up. Even when they made it back to her house to eat their own Christmas dinner that she prepared for them, she still was glowing. Dinner was fabulous and very intimate. Kenya decorated the dining room with the Christmas spirit, red tablecloth, silver ribbons on the chairs, red candles, silver and red ornaments hanging everywhere. They tapped glasses while making a toast to being thankful for spending this Christmas with each other. The other highlights of the week were visiting several wine vineyards, movies, and the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They took date night to another level, even letting their hair down, and had a burger from Mom's Burger in Compton, which was delicious. It was incredible how Queens was nearly 3,000 miles away from Compton, but the grind and hidden jewels were so similar. Eric soaked up a lot of Cali culture, thanks to Kenya. There wasn't a dull moment. The only time they spent alone was when Kenya went to church on Christmas Eve. She didn't like Eric not going to church, but she didn't press him. He liked how she took him saying he didn't want to go and left it at that. Kenya has gospel music playing on the surround sound while she was in the bathroom. Eric laid in the bed, going through his phone and looking at the pictures they took. Every image had a special memory. The ones they snapped in one particular vineyard were his favorite. It had been very romantic. Plus, they looked sexy in those photos. "What are you smiling at?" Kenya asked with a bobby pin between her teeth. She stared at him for a response as she did her hair. "Ain't you doing your hair?" "How do you know what I'm doing if you're looking in the mirror?" "I can do more than one thing at a time. What is it?" "Nothing. Just looking at these pictures from the week." "I've been doing the same thing. We take some good pictures together." "Yeah, that's what Danny said." "Oh. You're sending pictures to New York?" "Yes, they are my pictures." "You're acting like you haven't sent any." "Well, I might have sent a few to Jackie and a few other people." "Wow. I only sent them to Danny." "Now, it's possible he showed someone. I just haven't shown anyone else." "Who's everyone you sent it to?" Eric crossed his arms with a smile on his face. "Let me think. Jackie, Cherita, Rochelle, and my daughter. I think that's it." "You think?" "Not you, Miss Precise. Thinking and not knowing. That don't sound right. I can always go through my phone so that I can be exact." She paused for a second. "I did forget Pam. We go into her New Year's Eve get-together. I usually bring in the New Year at church, but I want to spend it with you. Plus, I'm going to church this morning. I know it's more than Pam, but I'm cool." "How long you been going to church on New Year's?" "Since 2003. That's the same year I got saved." "I didn't realize I got saved that long ago. Wow. I've been noticing you praying over your food, but I didn't know you got saved. When we were kids, my parents were the ones that kept me in church religiously. Your parents didn't go, and they didn't force you to go. It's funny how life works." "You right about that. When the last time you been to church?" "I was slowing up when I found out my dad had a whole other family. He preached that a family that prays together stays together. I guess he prayed harder with his other family. Then, when Danielle passed, I lost my way. Or should I say, my desire to sit in someone's church. I've had my questions for God back then, And even now, I don't think the church has the answers. You might be right. Who am I to say? But I will tell you this. Every step you take towards God, He will meet you halfway. You got that from church or your own experience? He sat up with his feet on the floor. Kenya walked in the bedroom right in front of him. This is my testimony. In 2003, I was going through a lot with my career and my marriage. Overwhelmed to the point that I didn't know if I was coming or going. I kept having this dream that had me walking through this dark tunnel. I could see the light, but it was way down the tunnel. Every time I made it to the light, it would blind me so much that I couldn't go any further. I told my therapist, and she asked, was I saved or religious? She explained that the light represented God, and the darkness was how I was living. To make a long story short, a couple of months later, I got saved, and I had that dream one more time. When I made it to the light, I felt a sense of calmness. I was no longer blind. I could see in all directions. I saw my future and where I came from. I woke up in tears, but I knew where I was going to plant my next step. She shook, as if she had a chill. Every time I tell that story, it does something to me. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect by no measure. But I can say, when darkness or unsureness finds me, the light of God shows me the way. She walked back into the bathroom to do her hair. Eric sat there quietly, thinking about what she'd shared with him. He knew the darkness that she was talking about. He'd been there too many times. Dee shared a similar experience to him. Eric wanted to believe that this was confirmation, but he was still a bit skeptical. He had a realist mentality that the pastor was selling hope to a troubled community. He'd always felt the pastor gets rich while the congregation waits for a blessing. He sat there, trying to process all she'd said. The mood changed in the room when I Surrender All by CeCe Winans came onto the surround sound. You could drop a pin in the place and would have heard it hit the floor. The music moved him to the point he was about to ask her how long the service was, but she beat him to it. I really would love it if you come to church with me. It's heavy on my heart right now that you come with me. Don't say no too fast. Just think how awesome it would be to finish the year on a holy or high note. If that didn't get you, do it for me. She had a look in her eyes that he couldn't say no to, but he still didn't say yes immediately. After a while more of her getting ready, he agreed to go to church with her, and it was initially a great decision. The atmosphere was inviting and friendly. The singing was of the new gospel selections, very up-tempo. Everything was going great, and then the pastor gave the word. He said a lot of things, but what stood out to Eric was when he came out of the book of Jonah. Jonah 4:10. But the Lord said, "You have been concerned about this plant, though you did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight." The pastor read the text and continued to give his message. Eric held on to the scriptures he read. He stared at the Bible, reading it over and over. Kenya rubbed his knee as she noticed he was stuck looking in his Bible. She gave Eric a slight smile before looking back at the pastor. He sat there for the rest of the service, in deep thought about what he was concerned with. My concerns. My concerns. He couldn't stop thinking about what was important to him and how much he could really control. Driving back from the church was very awkward. Eric hoped she didn't notice. He looked out the window, trying to not look at Kenya, bopping to the music and enjoying the ride. "Did you like the service?" Kenya asked. "Yes. Even more than I anticipated. I was surprised to see such a young following, and the pastor gave an awesome word." "Yeah, he normally does. And it's like that every Sunday, as far as the crowd. The youth ministers do an awesome job with the youth and young adults. He preaches the future is in our youth. Therefore, he makes sure the church keeps them at the forefront. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. I'm glad you invited me." Eric picked her right hand off his knee with his left hand. He interlocked their fingers. Then he lifted her hand to his face. He kissed her hand and lowered it back to his knee, still holding her hand. They went back to North Italia, where the food and drinks were great. Eric didn't overindulge in the red sangria. He paced himself that day. The last time he'd ordered the roasted salmon, and she did the chicken parmesan. They flipped the meals, but did the same sides as before. They had an even better time than before. He really couldn't place his finger on why, but he loved it. Annulling Our Promise. Chapter 37. Eric was looking out the window as Kenya drove them to Pam's house. People still had their Christmas lights up. They grooved to the Temptations holiday CD playing. This was Eric's first New Year's party that would start as early as 7 p.m., and they were trying to be on time. He was wearing an ugly sweater. He was never one to follow the crowd. Every time his job told them to wear an ugly sweater, he never did. But Kenya had sprung this sweater on him. He would have never picked out one that had 2 gingerbread cookies going at it. The male ginger cookie was hitting the female cookie from behind. "You okay, baby?" Kenya asked. "Yeah, but you know I'm not feeling this sweater." She touched his knee and said, "That's why I put on the reindeers getting it in. We both look silly." "I hear you, but your reindeers are small. Look how big these ginger cookies are. I might as well have a condom sweater on," Eric said sarcastically. "Yeah, that would be something to see. I don't know why I didn't think of that." He turned and looked at her with the slant eye. "I'm just playing, baby. Relax. If you feel uncomfortable once we get there, you can put on your giant sweater." All Eric could do was smile, because he was thinking the same thing. The G-men had beat the Redskins earlier that day. She pulled up to Pam's house. They had one of those drive-around driveways, and the house was huge. "Damn, what they do?" Eric asked. "Pam retired from the Air Force like me, but her husband owns about 20 or 30 car dealerships. He took over the family business from his parents." Kenya popped the trunk, and they got out of the car. Eric got the case of mixed wine they'd gotten from the vineyards. They walked to the door, rang the bell, and stood there. Pam opened the door. This must be Eric. Got Kenya wide open. "Taylor." "I'm Pam, and this is my husband Oliver," Pam said. Oliver greeted them as he walked up and took the case out of Eric's hand, and Pam hugged Eric. Kenya's face was red as an apple after Pam said that to Eric. Pam pulled Kenya by the hand as they followed Oliver. Their house was ridiculous. They had a spiral staircase that led upstairs, and their Gothic cathedral ceiling was breathtaking. "This is a mansion, not a house," Eric thought to himself. Oliver put the case down on the counter in the kitchen. The women walked to the living room, and Oliver turned to Eric and said, "Call me O, and make yourself at home. Kenya's family. We love her, and she must think the world of you for bringing you here." "I hope she does." "Don't hope, she does. She's been telling us about you for the past month. I don't know what you did to her in Atlantic City, but you did it well. She even showed us your high school and college clips out the papers that she has saved. I was very impressed. I even Googled you to see your stats. I balled at Yale, but I couldn't tie your shoelaces. You just saying that? I'm sure you did your thing in college." "A little bit." Oliver shrugged as he handed Eric a glass of wine. "I don't hear the women. They must be talking about us." Oliver chuckled, and they listened hard. Oliver walked into the living room, and Eric followed behind him. He didn't realize that Kenya had kept up on him in college. It made him smile, knowing that she wasn't in the same state, but still had some newspaper clips. They made it to the living room to see the ladies looking at a variety of board games. "I'll be right back. I forgot something," Oliver said. As he walked away, Eric realized Oliver's sweater had turd flakes instead of snowflakes. Pam's sweater was on the sexual side, like Kenya and his. She had Mrs. Claus mooning Santa while he had a boner in his pants. Eric walked over to the table to look at the games. They had Plenty, Scrabble, Monopoly, Phase 10, Taboo, and a couple of adult games. The adult games were for a date night, he assumed. "What's this Phase 10? Eric asked as he held the box, reading the rules. Kenya and Pam looked at him as if he were speaking another language. "You've never played Phase 10? Pam asked with excitement in her voice. "No, I never even heard of this game." "We got a virgin, honey," Pam yelled to Oliver as he entered the room. Oliver walked into the room with a bag of marshmallows. A virgin to what? What did I miss? The first thing Eric thought was, they must use this game to get their swinger party going. I hope not, because I'm not a sharer. Plus, they're both nice, but Pam is not my type by no means. Eric looked at her to see how she was going to respond. Eric has never played Phase 10. I can't wait for Richie and Natasha to get here, Pam said. Cool. You're going to love it. My baby loves to break a new person in. We have a game night just to play Phase 10 with other couples. I get tired of whipping her. Ain't that right, baby? Oliver asked Pam, then tried to kiss her. Pam pushed his lips away from her, and he laughed. Excuse me, don't get it twisted. Eric, I kill him every chance I get. But he's right. You are going to love it. Oliver pressed a button on a sizable remote. The curtain and sliding door opened in the living room to the backyard. They had a huge pool and jacuzzi lit with neon lights. Pam put on some music, and they went into the backyard. Everyone sat on their deck bench area with the fire pit in the middle of the table. The bench didn't look comfortable with the futon-esque pillows, but to Eric's surprise, it was. Oliver brought the bag of marshmallows and a bottle of wine, placing them on the table. Kenya sat up on Eric, damn near laying on him. Eric laughed to himself as he watched Oliver put marshmallows on a stick. He was too big to be doing that. He reminded Eric in that moment of Rock or Charles S. Dutton. Oliver looked like he used to be muscular, but now he was borderline fat. Pam was the opposite. She had a nice physique and face. It was the dreads that had thrown Eric off. Ever since Eric found out a person couldn't wash their hair at the beginning of the dread process, just seeing them creeped him out a bit. Eric sipped his wine, smiling, listening to Teddy P's Feel the Fire. You good, baby? Kenya asked with her head tilted back. I'm good. Great wine, great company, and my baby. He squeezed her thigh. Kenya smiled and tapped his hand. Then Eric said, Plus, Big O whipping up those marshmallows. Don't knock it till you try it. Some people do cheese and crackers with their wine. My dad was notorious for roasting marshmallows anytime there's an open flame. All he needed was his Merlot and marshmallows. Ain't that right, baby? Oliver asked Pam. Yeah, we can't get enough of that, baby, Pam replied, but she shook her head side to side, saying no. Kenya and Eric laughed under their breath. Oliver kept roasting one after another until Richie and Natasha finally joined the group. Pam introduced them as they walked on the deck. Richie had brought the biggest bottle of Patron Eric had ever seen. Pam started bringing food out near the pool. The food was set up in the dining room, but it's so nice out here. I hope you all don't mind eating outside, Pam said. They all responded that it was just fine. Kenya and Natasha helped Pam bring in the food. All the food. Jerk chicken, curry chicken, brown stew and oxtails, plantains, cabbage, collards, yams, rice, and beans. They sat at the table near the pool. The food was great, even when everyone ate too much. Oliver went into the house. Then, he came back with a cigar case. Oliver cleared his throat to get the fella's attention, holding the cigars and pointing to the deck area. They got up and left the women by the pool. Oliver handed Richie and Eric a cigar as they sat down. These are Monte Cristo No. 2 cigars. I only smoke these on special occasions, Oliver informed them as he sniffed the cigar. You said that the last 4 times you pulled them out, Richie said with a chuckle. And it was? To wake up above ground is always a special occasion. Oliver lit his cigar. You right about that, Eric said as he reached for the lighter. The fellas smoked cigars while sipping on the wine. The women took the food back in the house. After they cleared off the table, Pam brought out the Phase 10 cards and the hookah. She got the hookah going, and the girls went in on it. The guys talked about sports, and the girls talked about the guys. I guess somebody done moved on. I see you glowing over here, Natasha said. Pam looked at Natasha, moving her head up and down. Yes, I did, and it's long overdue, Kenya said. Pam put her hand in the air and gave Kenya a high five. I'm glad, because I was tired of you wearing those granny panties, Pam said. What are you talking about? Kenya asked Pam, confused. You were all bitter and soaking like an old hag, but not like today. I see you smiling and your breasts all perky. Pam sniffed the air, hard. I smell a G-string on, Pam said in a funny voice. Kenya choked on the smoke from the hookah. They all laughed. All jokes aside, he has a good aura, plus he has fit in, as if we've always known each other. That's a great quality, Pam said. That's Eric. He charmed you like he charmed my mother. She still asked about him, and we haven't been together in over 30 years. Hold up. So, you've doubled back? Natasha asked Kenya. She's not only doubling backing, she's doing it with her first love. The guy who took her virginity, Pam said. Damn. Tell all my business. Kenya looked at Pam with the evil eye. Well, at least your first is worth doubling back. I saw my first on Facebook 2 years ago, and I would be ashamed to say we had sex, more or less that he was my first. He let himself go to the point he looks bad, horrible, Natasha said with a grimace. Ain't that the truth? Pam said. Ironically, he's probably finer now than when we were younger, and our chemistry now is way better too. I feel free sexually with Eric, more than my ex-husband. Kenya looked up as she was thinking. Stop, I don't want to hear no more. Because if I get any freer with my husband, he'll call me a prostitute and divorce me. Okay, Natasha said, snapping her neck. They laughed so hard the guys made it over to the table with them. Pam turned the light dimmer up so everyone could see better. They taught Eric the rules of Phase 10. He picked up quick and soon upped the ante. If a player didn't phase out, they had to take a shot of Patron or hot sauce. The game got real interesting. They didn't know they were messing with Mr. Competitor. They didn't lie, and the game was fun and long. They took so many breaks that the game was starting to drag even slower. Smoke, marshmallow, bathroom. They made all kinds of breaks. Natasha's alarm went off on her cell phone. It was already 5 minutes before midnight. Cali time. Eric had already spoken to Danny and Nana 3 hours ago. Pam paused the game and got some champagne glasses. Oliver poured everyone a drink as they stood by the fire pit. They started the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Happy New Year, everyone shouted. Eric gave Kenya a hug and a big kiss. He must have been feeling the alcohol for him to kiss her so passionately in front of her friends he'd only just met. She looked at him, surprised, but smiled. Oliver held his glass up and made a toast. Here's to a new year. I hope for prosperity, great health, and spontaneous sex. Cheers, Oliver said. They smiled at his toast while touching glasses. I feel the spontaneous happening already. We'll be back, Oliver said in the Terminator's voice. Oliver and Pam went upstairs. Eric looked at Richie and Natasha. They'll be back in 10 minutes. They do this every year, no matter where we are, Natasha said. I give him 4, Richie said. They all laughed. Eric went to the table by the pool to get some Patron, and Kenya followed him. He made a shot, sat down, and she sat in his lap. Kenya had her legs together with her feet going over his right thigh. Her right arm lay over his shoulders as she looked in Eric's eyes. Happy New Year, Kenya whispered. Eric smiled. They started kissing until his nature rose. Eric looked at Kenya with his, I want you now eyes. Without saying a word, she got up and grabbed his hand, leading him to a bedroom upstairs. Laying in the bed naked, breathing hard, Eric could hear Oliver yelling down the hall. Richie, Natasha, Kenya, Eric. He repeated their names over and over. If you all don't want to finish the game, I won. Eric and Kenya laughed at Oliver. Then Eric rolled on top of Kenya. Annulling Our Promise. Chapter 38. January 4th, 2018. Eric was sitting on the plane, looking out the window and daydreaming about the last 2 weeks with Kenya. He'd had the time of his life. He smiled, thinking about all the things they did as he twirled the bracelet in his hand. Eric meant to give it to Kenya so she would know that he was all in. Him being a sucker once again, he'd punked out. He couldn't even blame it on Danielle. Ever since Eric saw Kenya at the wedding, he hadn't been brokenhearted at all. This was the first time in almost 30 years he had felt like that. The captain announced that they would be arriving at JFK Airport in 20 minutes. Those words couldn't have sounded any better for Eric. Eric stood at the baggage conveyor belt, trying to locate his bags. He was starting to get a little aggravated, especially when people from his flight were leaving with their luggage. Finally, he spotted his bags. He grabbed them, then headed outside where Danny was waiting. Eric saw Danny leaning on a black Tahoe. He was surprised, because Danny didn't own an SUV. It must be a rental, Eric thought. Danny took the luggage and loaded them into the trunk. Eric got in the passenger seat, then Danny got in. "Hey, Dad, how was your trip?" Danny asked as he pulled off. "It was great. Kenya is amazing. She showed me such a good time that I almost thought about asking her to marry me," Eric said while looking out the window. He could feel Danny looking at him. Eric turned to make eye contact. "What? You're serious?" "I'm so serious. I couldn't wait to tell you. I needed to hear me say that out loud, to let it resonate. Wow. I was joking when you left here with all that singing at y'all's wedding, but damn. I'm happy for you, Dad. It's just weird to hear you say that. I never thought I would ever hear you say that." "So, you thought I would be single the rest of my life?" "No, I thought one of your lady friends would lock you down, but I thought you would be legally married before you got married. I would have lost everything in a bet if I thought you were getting married on your own." "I get that. I mean, I have stuck to my rules all these years. It might be my old age, or because you're no longer in the house. It's neither. At the reception, I saw how you were looking at Kenya. I'm sure you looked at moms like that, but I was too young to recognize it. I told Yolanda on the honeymoon that Kenya coming to the wedding might turn out better than we thought, and she said she hoped so. You might not believe it, but a lot of people want to see you happy with someone. Kenya or whoever. You deserve it, Dad." "Thanks, son. You're right. I wish I would have realized this years ago. Knowing it then or now doesn't matter. But to know it and not to act on it is what? It's foolish, son. And you know I didn't raise any fool, and I ain't trying to be one. You're going to stop schooling me with my sayings. No matter who it comes from, the truth is the truth," Danny said, and Eric nodded. After a moment, Danny spoke again. "Speaking of the truth, you're about to be a granddad. Yolanda is 3 months pregnant." Eric turned and looked at Danny. Danny nodded his head up and down with the biggest smile. "Congrats. Damn. You don't play no games, do you, son? 3 months? So she was pregnant at the wedding? I'm glad she wasn't showing. Thanks. You're right. That wouldn't have been a good look. Just don't tell anyone." On January 14th, we're going to invite our parents over for dinner at our new place. At the dinner, we're going to announce the pregnancy. "I got you. I will act surprised." Eric tried to convince Danny that Eric would be a good name for a boy and Erica for a girl. Danny tried to ignore him, changing the subject to the Giants' win from Sunday. Eric knew what Danny was doing, but he let him slide. Danny dropped him off at the house. When Eric opened the door, he could hear the wall clock ticking from the dining room. He took his bag up to his bedroom. He got undressed and put on his Georgia Tech basketball shorts and his house shoes. Eric went downstairs to the basement to watch the Warriors vs. Rockets game on TNT in the Boom Boom room. He turned the game on, got a Heineken, and flopped on the sofa. Eric turned it up volume with the remote to hear what Ernie and the fellas were talking about. He opened the beer, took a sip, then texted Kenya. Eric, hey baby, I finally made it home. Kenya, I'm glad. I was starting to worry. I will call you when I get off the phone with Jackie. Eric, cool. Love you. Kenya, love you too. Eric placed the phone down on the coffee table. He watched TV with a slight smile, still tripping over all the love talk. The crew would have had a roast session if they found out what the lovebirds were up to. Baby, I'm home. I got your goodies. Danny yelled up the steps to Yolanda. Danny put his car keys in a bowl on a stand in the living room. He walked into the kitchen with the bags from the store and placed them on the table. Yolanda entered into the kitchen. She went straight to the bags without saying a word to Danny. Hey baby, thanks for getting my goodies, Danny said, affecting a falsetto and making kissing noises. I'm sorry, my love, but I've been craving this since yesterday, Yolanda said, holding the box of ice cream. She kissed Danny, and then she got a big spoon out the drawer. I bought you 3 different kinds because I forgot which one you said. She looked at all 3 pints: butter pecan, strawberry swirl, and mint chocolate chip. She sat down with her spoon and ate out of all of them in turns. Danny got a glass of milk so he could dip his butter crunch cookies he got for himself. He pulled 4 Slim Jims out of his pocket and placed them on the table. She opened one Slim Jim and used it as a spoon for her ice cream. Danny squinted his eyes at her. You sure you're all right? Danny asked. Yes. You know I have a sweet tooth, but now it's intensified. How's your dad? Yolanda stuffed her face. He's great. But you won't believe what he told me. What? He's thinking about asking Kenya to marry him. Wow. Not Mr. Taylor. That's what I thought. But he's serious. Plus, he has that look in his eyes when he's going to follow through. I hope that she's right for him. Don't worry about that, baby. If she's not, he'll run her off like he does the rest of them. One thing I can say is when she was doing my makeup, she had this way about herself. Confidence, not arrogance. It was my wedding day, but she had a glow like it was her day. Do that make sense? Totally. You have that same radiance coming from you. That's why I had to make you Mrs. Taylor. Yolanda smiled with her eyes closed. You don't have to flatter me to get some, baby. I'm yours. She leaned over to kiss him. Danny gave her a peck, but moved back quickly. She side-eyed him. You know I love you, but I can't stand Slim Jims on your breath. He got up and walked away. She tore a piece of the Slim Jim off and threw it at him. Steph Curry hit another 3. The Rockets call a timeout, said the commentator on the TV. Eric got up and put his plate in the trash. He grabbed another beer, then sat back on the couch. He opened it and took a swig. Ring. Ring. It was Kenya on FaceTime. Hello. Hey, baby. Sorry it took me so long to call you back, but Jackie wanted every little detail, Kenya said. I could imagine. That's why I only let Danny know I'm back. I told the crew I was coming back Saturday. I might hit them tomorrow, but I don't know yet. You haven't called your mother either? No, I'm going over there in the morning. I'll surprise her. We'll do breakfast and maybe shopping. I don't know yet, but it depends on how she feels. That's good. You know I'm missing the heck out of you, Kenya said with a sad face. I miss you too. It was only 14 days, but it felt like 3 months. I mean that in a good way. I'm already looking at my calendar thinking about the next time we'll see each other. I know you meant that in a good way. If it's okay with you, I would love to come up there for Valentine's Day. That sounds great. Now I can play hostess. Good deal. Because I already booked the flight. I'll be there on the 13th and leaving out on the 17th, Kenya said with a smile. You kill me. What if I had plans already? I would have visited my family and blew up your phone until I busted up your plans. Eric shook his head, chuckling. You don't have to worry about that. You are the only plans I look forward to. I hope so. Kenya's grin lit up his iPhone. They talked on the phone from the third quarter of the first game to halftime of the second game. Kenya told Eric how Pam and Oliver had nothing but praise for him. He told her the feeling was mutual. They said they loved each other, and finally ended their FaceTime. Eric held the phone in his hand as he thought to himself, smiling, I usually won't talk on the phone when it's a game I wanted to see. I'm breaking all my rules with her, but I love it. Annulling Our Promise. Chapter 39. January 5th, 2018. Eric knocked on Nana's door. I hope she's in there, he thought to himself. He closed his eyes, trying to listen for her. Still no response. Eric knocked again as he pulled out his keys. Before he could locate the spare key Nan had given him, she opened the door in her nightgown. Was you out here long? Nana let him in and started walking to her bedroom. No longer than usual. Eric closed the door. He stopped at his trophies and wiped the dust off a couple of them. His state championship MVP trophy was his favorite. He remembered making that game-winning shot as time ran out. Eric was only a junior that year. He'd believed that his school would play for the championship the following year, but that hadn't been in the cards for them. What brings you out here, Mr. West Coast? Nana snickered as she stood near the couch, buttoning her blouse. Okay, I see you got jokes. Just haven't spent time with you in a minute. Plus, I have something I need to tell you. Oh, Lord, let me sit down. I don't need no more news that's going to upset me, Nana said. She took a seat in her recliner. What are you talking about? What other news? Nothing. What do you have to tell me? Eric looked at her for a moment before he said anything. He knew she was keeping something from him from her body language. You know I went to California to see Kenya, right? Yes. And I know she took care of you. Now, spit out whatever you're trying to tell me. Eric rolled his eyes. She was a mess. I'm thinking about asking Kenya to marry me. Is that all? I already knew that. I thought you had some real news. How? Danny told you? No. You told me. How you looked at her at the reception. Ever since that day, you've been walking around like you're woke. Ain't that what the young kids be saying? Yes, but you shouldn't be saying that. Seriously, though, how do you feel about me asking her? Honestly, it doesn't matter how I or anybody else feel, Nana said as she got up and walked back to her bedroom doorway. Earl, come out and meet my son, Eric. Eric was confused, thinking this woman had finally lost her mind. A man came out of her bedroom and shook his hand. The man kissed Nana on the cheek and said, I'm late for my nurse's visit. She walked him out and then started talking like none of that had happened. Like I was saying, life is too short to worry about what anyone thinks. You do what makes you happy and that you can live with. I know I am, she said, a bit of sass to her voice. Eric didn't say anything. He was still in shock at what had happened. Did you hear what I said? Yes, but how long has this Earl situation been going on? That's none of your business. You need to worry about how you're going to pop the question. I've seen a couple of good ways on these reality shows. I could help you out. I don't know about that, but get dressed so we can get something to eat. Nana got up and went to her bedroom. All he could do was smile, a bit incredulous, about her and Earl, knowing that she was right about life being too short. They went to eat at Richie's place on Hillside Avenue. Eric and Nana sat there for hours, talking about anything that came to mind. She even spoke about Earl a little. He just listened and put his sun antennas down. Eric couldn't remember the last time they'd had such a great conversation. When she smiled, she showed all her dentures. Annulling Our Promise. Chapter 40. January 14th, 2018. Danny walked into the dining room. As he sat in his chair, he whispered into Yolanda's ear. Eric couldn't hear what he said because he was fake listening to Dell Danielle's father. It was Eric, Danny, Yolanda, Dell, May, Nana, Mr. and Mrs. B, all sitting at the dining room table. Then, after all that, the guy said, Dell took a pause and looked at May, his wife. He smiled with his dramatic pause, as if he was going to drop the hammer. The same thing happened to me. You get it? Dell asked in his raspy voice. May and Eric were the only ones that laughed hard. Everyone else looked a little confused, which they should have been. Eric remembered Danielle giving him some advice about laughing at Dell's corny jokes. If you don't laugh, he will tell another one. You know, I get it, Eric said, loud and confident. Dell gestured at him with both his pointers. Ring, ring. Eric looked at his cell phone and saw it was Kenya. Hold on a second, baby, he said to Kenya after answering. Son, I'll be right back. He pointed to his phone. Okay, Dad. Just don't take too long. You know I'm about to make the announcement, Danny whispered. I got you. Eric touched Nana's shoulder as he walked out of the dining room. He went to the kitchen to talk in privacy. Hey, baby, what's going on? Nothing. Just had you on my mind, so I called. I'm glad you did. You saved me. I couldn't take one more of Dell's stories. He tells the same stories in slow motion. I try my hardest not to finish the story before he does. Hands down, he's the worst storyteller I ever heard in my life. I mess with him every time. I open my eyes real wide at certain spots of the story, so he thinks I'm enjoying it. This guy, Eric said with a chuckle. My bad, baby. I forgot about the dinner. Call me when you leave there? Will do. Love you. Love you more, Kenya said. Then she ended the call before he could argue it. He walked back in the dining room and sat back next to Nana. Danny got up and placed an envelope in front of each person's dessert plate. Before y'all open the envelopes, I want to say thanks once again for helping us on our big day. We are so thankful to have the support team that we do. We love y'all, Danny said, holding Yolanda's hand. Yes, we do. And I hope that y'all didn't overeat because you're going to love this cake, Yolanda said. Danny walked off to get the cake. They all opened their envelopes and looked confused. The cards all read, It's A. It's A, Mame read out loud from the card. Everyone looked around to the others at the table. Yolanda didn't say a word. She just smiled. Danny placed the silver cake stand, topped with a dome, in the center of the table. Danny took Nana's card from her. Then, he put his hand on the cake lid. It's a boy, Danny said as he raised the lid. The cake was shaped as a baby boy, lying and looking up. He had a diaper on and the most adorable smile. The entire room looked at Yolanda. She nodded up and down with a grin to give them confirmation. Then, the room cheered. Everyone congratulated them with hugs and kisses. Yolanda had never had that many hands on her stomach at one time. That reminds me when I found out May was pregnant, Dell was saying as May stopped him. Can you let them have their time, honey? Ma May asked Dell. He didn't say another word. How far along are you? Mrs. Banks asked Yolanda. Yolanda looked at Danny before she answered. Almost 4 months, Yolanda replied. So that means you were... We will talk about that later, baby. You're having my first grandbaby, Mrs. Banks said. Thank the Lord. You finally gave her somebody else she can make throw up, Mr. Banks said as he walked out of the room. He walked to the front door as Mrs. B followed him. She cursed him out until he closed the door in her face. He went to smoke a cigarette. Mrs. B locked the door behind him. After the outburst, Yolanda got up and started cutting the cake. She put a slice on everyone's plate, then she sat down next to Danny. Danny fed her some of his cake before taking his own bite. Sweetheart, make sure you wrap up a piece of the cake and freeze it. With a label, though. I thought I was thawing out some yams, and it was some chitterlings. You know I was hot about that. I went from sugar to shit, literally, Nana said. Everyone laughed except for Dell. He didn't seem to get it. Danny looked back at his plate, and Yolanda ate his cake and hers. The ladies started giving Yolanda their fondest baby stories. Dell even got a chance to tell his own story. Eric noticed Nana dozing at the table during that time. "Ma, get up. I'm going to take her home. It's past her bedtime," Eric said. Nana and Eric hugged everyone and then they left. On the ride home, she asked him, "How long did you know she was pregnant?" Eric laughed, then said, "Danny told me when I got back from Cali." She didn't say anything after that. This old lady doesn't miss anything. Less than 2 blocks from her place, she had him run in the store for a Pepsi and a BC. When Eric opened the door to get back in the car, she was on the phone, looking worried. He was about to joke, but recognized the serious look on her face. Eric sat down and waited for her to get off the phone, quietly without starting the car. She ended the call and closed her eyes, sucking in her lips. "Are you okay, Ma?" She opened her eyes, then blew out a long sigh. "I need you to drive me to the Kings County Hospital." Without saying a word, he started the car. Annulling Our Promise. Chapter 41. Eric pulled up to the front of the hospital at 11:10 p.m. "After I park, I will call you and see where you are," he said to Nana. "That's fine. But before you do, I need you to know who I'm going to see. It's your dad, baby. He's not doing too good." Nana looked worried. "Are you serious? You're here for what? All that pain that he put you through? And you're here concerned about him? I can't believe this." He glared out the window, refusing to look at her. He was full of disgust. "He did put me through a lot of pain. You know that more than anyone. But that was a long time ago, and I finally forgave him." Eric looked back at her and said, "Well, I'm glad you did. But I'm not there right now, and probably never will be." "I get that. Do you want to know his health status?" "No. You can tell someone who cares, like his other family. Or should I say, his real family, with his real wife." Nana gave him a cold look. "I'm going to let that slide because of your hurting. But don't you ever think that I'm the lesser of the two. Never. So sit your ass in the car until I'm ready to go." She got out of the car, closed the door loudly, and entered the hospital. Eric parked the car, still in his feelings. He pulled up Kenya's contact, but never pressed call. He tapped his phone on the steering wheel in disbelief. All those years I had to hear her crying after she put my dad out. I thought her tears would never stop. It was 1980. Eric heard a lot of commotion coming from his parents' room. That had been going on for the last 2 years. His mother was getting on his father for not staying at home. His father drove a city bus and did a lot of doubles. Then, when he wasn't working, he played in a pro-am league. His time in the house was growing farther and farther in between. It didn't bother Eric, because he had his own life going on. He got off the bed to close his door so that he could hear Kenya on the phone. They talked for 15 minutes longer, until the yelling escalated. Eric heard a bam, as if they were physically fighting. They never went that far. He got off the phone, opened his door, and stood in the hall. "What you want me to do? I'm trying to make everything right," Raymond said. "Tell that hussy you can't see her and them bastards no more," Patricia yelled back. "Now you know I can't do that, and they're not bastards. I'm messed up, I understand that. Give me some time to figure this out. No, not another minute. When you leave tonight, make it your last time coming to this house." "You don't mean that? And why would you try to make me choose Eric and you against them? You know how I feel about kids being raised by their father, not someone else." "You right. That's why I'm your wife, and that hussy ain't." Raymond looked at the floor. "Hold up. Did you marry her?" Raymond looked at her with a shameful look on his face. "You know I wasn't going to bring a child in this world out of wedlock. That's why it's not as easy as you think." "Yes, it is. You made that choice a long time ago. Leave. Leave," she kept yelling. He turned around only to see Eric in the hallway. He put his head down as he walked towards him. Eric slid over so that he could walk by him. Raymond stopped. "I love you, son, and nothing will ever change that," Raymond said as he stood beside him. "The sad thing is, you believe that. We are done." "You're dead to me," Eric spat, with disgust on his face. He went back into his room and shut the door. He didn't even give his father a chance to respond. He locked the door as the tears came down his face. Eric didn't know if he was hurt or puzzled. All these principles he's been drilling. Family, family, family. Damn liar. 2 hours later, Eric came out of the room to find his mother sitting on the floor with her back on the front door. He walked over to check on her. When she looked up at him, her eyes were glassy. She didn't even look like herself. He helped her up, took her to her bed. He thought she would be better in the morning, but he was wrong. It took months before that glassy look went away. Ring. Ring. Eric snapped out of his daze at the sound of his phone ringing. It was Kenya FaceTiming him. He sent her to voicemail. He got out of the car and went into the hospital. Eric walked through the lobby, trying to find a bathroom. After using it, he headed back to the car. He stopped once he saw his mother and a lady he thought might have been his dad's other wife. He backed up next to the wall so they wouldn't see him. Eric watched the lady get back onto the elevator while his mother walked out the front door. He started following her as his phone rang. It was Nana. "Hello? Come get me. I'm at the front door." "Yes, ma'am." He walked up behind her and tapped her shoulder. She swung back and hit him in the eye. Eric grabbed his eye. Nana said, "I told you about walking up on me. Now, let's go. I'm sleepy." They walked to the car, and Eric drove her home. She slept the whole ride. He walked her to her apartment to make sure she was okay. He thought she would have said something on the way home, not a word. That made him a little curious. After helping her in, he started the car and looked at the time. It was 1:15 a.m. He called Kenya, since it was only 10:15 p.m., Cali time. He started driving as the phone rang. "Hey, baby, I thought you forgot about me," Kenya said as she answered the phone. "Never that. I had to take my mother to the hospital. Then I had to—" "Oh my God, is she okay?" He heard the sound of bed sheets rustling, as if she'd sat up quickly. "Yes, you didn't let me finish. I drove her up there to check on my dad." "Your dad?" "You heard me right, my dad." "Is he okay? How did it go? I know you haven't spoken to him in years." "I don't know how he's doing." "It went okay, though. I stayed in the car until my mother got done seeing him. Then I drove her home." "Hold up. Let me get this right. You drove your mother to the hospital to visit your dad. Even after she told you what's wrong with him, you still decided not to visit him. Is that right?" "Yes and no, but who cares? Let's change the subject. How was your day?" "I will tell you about my day in a minute. Back to your dad. At some point you need to have a conversation with him, or forgive him completely. You're carrying around too much pain, and it's not healthy." "I hear you, but honestly, I didn't ask you for your opinion." "Oh, so you have to grant me permission to speak my mind?" "No, and you know I didn't mean it like that. I took it how you said it. When you want my opinion about this matter, call me, because this conversation is not over. Bye." Kenya ended the call. Damn. Can this day get any worse? He asked himself. Eric drove home, trying to think about how he could have worded things better with Kenya, and with his mother as well. When he made it home, he took a shower and went to bed. Eric laid there, looking at the ceiling and trying to convince himself not to text Kenya. He was flipping her words around in his head. She said, "When I call her, we need to finish that conversation. So if I text her, I should be good." He almost started to believe that by the time he eventually went to sleep. Annulling Our Promise. Chapter 42, January 15, 2018. Stuck in traffic, Eric couldn't stop thinking about his conversation with Kenya. I hope I didn't blow it with her. I should have just given in and apologized last night. No. She should have been considerate that this is a very touchy situation. She knows the rundown with my dad, Eric thought to himself as he drove into the city. He walked into the building to see Steve heading towards him. Mr. Taylor, I'm glad you're back. I need you to finalize some paperwork, Steve said as he started walking alongside Eric. Eric pressed the elevator. Then he looked at Steve. Why didn't you give it to Tina? I've been giving her folders ever since you left. Mr. Murdoch said this particular account needs to be done ASAP. I didn't know what to do. They walked onto the elevator. He said that? Yes, sir, and I didn't know what to do. Eric took the folder from Steve, opened it, and then smiled. This was how Mr. Murdoch gave promotions. Eric must look over the numbers. Then, when he gave the folder back, it would be the terms of the promotion. That doesn't look good, Eric said, ruffling Steve's feathers. What is it? Do I need to go over them again? He tried to look in the file with Eric. No, you have done enough. Eric got off the elevator and shook his head at Steve as the doors closed with him still on it. Eric walked towards his office, smiling. Hey, Tina, did you keep everyone in order? You know I did. How was California? Tina asked. It was great. I truly enjoyed myself. Before I forget, take this folder and email Mr. Murdoch. Get the promotion contract for Steve. He must have done a great job while I was gone. Eric handed her the folder. On it. And he did an excellent job. He reminds me of you, but he needs to put less starch in his underwear, Tina said with a chuckle. You're a mess. He laughed at her. No, this is a mess. Welcome back, boss. She handed him a stack of folders. Not welcome back. This is back to reality, Eric said while shrugging his shoulders. He took the folders and went into his office. After Eric placed the folders on his desk, he went straight to the window. Looking at everyone moving always motivated him. He hopped into the folders, head first. Sometimes checking over someone else's assignment was more work than doing it yourself. Eric was so locked into it he lost track of time. Damn. 3 hours went that fast. He stopped for a moment and sent Kenya a text. Eric, good morning. I hope you have a good day at work. Love you. He waited for 10 minutes, but she hadn't responded to the text. Eric checked his phone periodically as he got back to work. Pam was sitting in Kenya's office as the text came through. Her phone said there was a text message from Sweet Thing. Kenya ended the voice notification without checking the text. Are you all right? Pam asked Kenya. Yes. I have all the deadlines to meet. I will be eating lunch in the office as usual, Kenya replied. You're telling me as if I'm not assisting you. I'm talking about you and Eric. He is your sweet thing, right? Yes. You know he is? Kenya smiled. Okay, then what's the problem? Kenya sighed, rubbing her temples as she said, We had our first fight last night. Our first. Y'all first and you worried. My mother used to tell me the relationship isn't stamped until you have your first argument. It's easy to be lovebird while the nest is intact. Y'all be okay. I don't know. He's very stubborn and prideful. Kenya read her notes. She noticed Pam didn't say anything and looked up to see Pam staring at her, with her head tilted and arms crossed. Kenya squinted her eyes at Pam. Girl, bye. I know that look. You should. You're the most stubborn person I know. And I got 5,000 friends. Facebook friends, Pam said. She stuck her tongue out at Kenya as she walked out of the office. Kenya smiled to herself, then finally opened the text and read it. Eric thinks he's slick, she thought to herself. She kept working and didn't respond. Later that night, sitting on the couch, Eric flipped through the TV in the boom boom room. He hadn't told anyone, but he'd been sleeping in the basement ever since he got back from Cali. He didn't know if he felt guilty for feeling this way for Kenya or what. Eric wanted to spend the rest of his life with that woman. In his mind, by sleeping in the basement, he was hiding from Danielle. The funny thing was, Danielle had never stepped a foot in that house in the flesh, but her spirit filled the place with all the pictures and mementos. Eric sat up on the couch and got his phone off the coffee table. He checked the text messages, but she still hadn't responded. He placed the phone on his lap as he bit the inside of his mouth in deep thought. I guess this is payback for all the females I cut short with no scissors. Eric